with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole. Let's talk about it. Tell me all about it. I'm here. I want to know what's on your mind. Ooh, the world needs to hear from you, and I'm so glad to have a conversation to reach the nation. And it's all about you. We'll help each other to discover innovative ways to positively change the world. Let's talk about, let's talk about, let's talk about Conversations with Nicole.
Greetings. Happy Monday. Welcome to Conversations with Nicole. I am Nicole Everett, your host, and Conversations with Nicole is a talk show based in Tallahassee, Florida, focused on connecting the community through conversations. And today is what I call Mindset Monday, which is an opportunity for you, me, and my guests to chat about whatever it is we want to chat about. And today we have our clinician in residence, Mr. Ozzie Daniel from Virginia Beach, Virginia. He is going to have a conversation with us about faith. Faith. What does that have to do with mindset? Y'all think about that and let's dig in. So this is an interactive live. We are live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Greater Works Network on Roku. And on Facebook and YouTube, it's interactive. So I truly do expect to hear from you. So I see some of you all chiming in already. Let me give a shout out to my cousin Denise from Texas. Thank you for being here. Cousin Raymond in Virginia. Greetings. Janetta here in Tallahassee. And Miss Felicia, thank you for being here. So Ozzie helps us close out the month, normally on the last Monday of the month. Can y'all believe it's the last Monday of March? Feels like this first quarter has flown by. Q1 will be over on Friday. But anyway, we are moving on with our goals and our dreams and our aspirations. So I see a few more folks chiming in. Lanisha, thank you for being here. Miss Running Buzz, she's here in Tallahassee. My sister Shayla down in South Florida, thank you for being here. Benicia, happy Monday. She is also here in Tallahassee. And Dr. Janelle Robinson, thank you for being here. And my cousin Tony Lynch, who is over in Colorado. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. So again, Interactive Live, we definitely want to hear from you all. But before I bring Ozzie on, I want to tell you a little bit about him. For those of you who may not have heard Ozzie before on the show. All right, so Ozzie Daniel is a servant leader enriched in life coaching. He served in the Navy for 20 years, and during that time, he spent 7 years of his life out to sea. He served in Iraq and Afghanistan, and also during his time overseas, he coached softball, traveled to different regions of Europe. He earned after his service, he went back to college to earn his bachelor's of arts in psychology, and then he went on to get his master's of science in leadership. During the time of working on his master's, he started working in the field of healthcare at a psychiatric center, and then as a contractor and a case manager for Virginia Support Services as a family clinician coordinator and a mental health skills builder, working with adults. He has supported several faith-based platforms during the pandemic, and his favorite quote is, "No one cares how much you know until they know how much you care." Y'all, help me welcome Mr. Ozzie Daniel.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. And hi, Nicole. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you too, Oz.
It's the last Monday of the month. You know, people are going to start running away now when they find out that it's the last Monday of the month and they see my face on the screen,
No,
right?
no, 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 no. I'm actually here to see you. So mom is here. Hey, mom.
Hey, Mom, how are you? Hello, everyone, and to everyone who is coming later and watching later. Hey, Portia,
Hey,
and
Portia.
about to do this viewing and have a great conversation here tonight on faith. I
Yes,
love
yes, sir. So for those of you who may not have experienced Ozzie before, Ozzie is a lover of the Lord and a lover of this work. And so, Ozzie, tell the people who may not know who you are. Who is Ozzie? Not what you do, but who are you?
it. All right, all right, all right. Well, I am a lover of Elohim. I worship him in spirit and in truth. That's the foremost part of my life. And growing into that daily, monthly, yearly, and I'm just enjoying that journey. And also, I'm a pops. That's what my children call me. They don't call me dad no more because I have a grandbaby. So she's about 10 years old. Can you imagine how time flies? And I just enjoy life. I value people and just enjoy living a life that I could say, you know what, I am growing and evolving in it. And in the same time, doing a lot of observation, doing a lot of research, so I could be able to enhance myself, so I could be a better person in the community and also in my family and friends' life. They have been a blessing to me, and I just want to continue being a blessing to them also. So that's who I am in a nutshell. I'm an avid reader, always reading, always researching. And one thing I've learned last week is the more screen time you cut off, the better your focus and your thinking capacity increases.
Hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
So manage your hours of screen time. You
Okay.
know, so that's one thing I've learned over the last week or so
Nice.
by
Nice.
experience, not just by talking about it, but actually putting it into practice.
No, that is very important. I think all the screen time is kind of zapping some of our energy too. So,
Yes, it does.
but that's a whole nother story.
A
All
whole
right.
chapter.
So before we get going with our topic, I have to read my disclaimer since I have a licensed clinician on. And that is that all topics, past, present, and future, on Conversations with Nicole are for informational purposes only. They are not to be used as a diagnosis for treatment or an answer to any personal issues related to the topic being discussed before, during, or after the program. All right.
All right.
So let's dive in. Faith.
Faith.
So
Wh-
I told Ozzy that when you Google faith, at least when I Googled it twice today, the definition that popped up that was complete trust or confidence in someone or something. Complete trust or confidence in someone or something.
Right. And that's a good definition. I like that definition because it say complete trust.
Mm-hmm.
So the key is, how do we know that we have complete trust in this faith that we are believing in? Because faith is based on belief on something, and it cannot be, that probably cannot be proven or seen, but at the same time it involves a trust in a higher power or religious or spiritual beliefs. So I believe faith should be something way higher than your own thinking, higher than whatever you may conceive of. But yet, even if you don't believe it or can't see it, but you have to believe it because you have faith in it. So when you have complete faith in it, it must increase something that will bring about results. You can't have faith in something and don't have results or see results in it, So I believe that one of my base that I really love is Hebrews chapter 11, verse 6, which says, without faith, it's impossible to please God. And anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and he's a rewarder of those who seek him. So therefore, there's a seeking that have to come about in faith to increase and to believe in it and to see you through whatever you may be at or whatever you may doing at that time. It must be something that will increase you to the fullest extent and bring about results. Otherwise, it may just be imaginary, because you may end up saying, well, I believe in this, I believe in that, but next 2 days you may change your mind. So is that really considered faith?
I don't know. So that actually was going to be one of my questions to you. Can your faith change? Pause. I see Roz on here, so I got to give her a shout out. Thank you for being
Oh, wow. Look at this. Roz on a Monday night.
Roz
Yes.
on a Monday night.
Hi, Roz.
All right. So, yes, can faith change? Yes or no?
Faith could change based on your growth.
Okay.
It based on your growth. So you may actually be putting your faith into something and you no longer believe in it. So therefore, if you no longer believe in that thing, it's going to change. It is subject to change. But one of the things that changes faith is doubt or unbelief, because now some circumstances came about and that did not change the condition of what you were expecting. So therefore your faith changed. You no longer believe in that anymore. So therefore, since you have a soul, you're going to look for something to believe in because it's automatic.
Okay.
Whether it may be someone or something or a deity or deities, that faith is going to go somewhere, because it's all about how we were designed, and we all have a soul. So if you have a soul, you're going to worship something. You're going to believe in something, whether it may be externally, internally, above, or beneath.
Okay. So we got Johnny Johnson on here. Hey, Johnny, thank you for being here. He said, is your faith in a higher power? Johnny, give me a little clarity on this, because I'm not quite sure what you're trying to say. Is your faith in a higher power maybe you meant or something? Let me know. Just give us a little clarity on that. So you talked about belief, you talked about faith, and that you have to believe. So believing, that to me, that's mindset, right?
Yes, it is. It
Yeah.
is a mindset. And remember last month I talked about, when it came to desire, faith is the elixir that actually makes that desire and push you into motion, because faith produces action. You got to have it's going to have action behind of it, but with that action is going to be a purpose behind of that action. So what's the purpose behind of it? So if you have faith into something that you're going to bring about result, who above your mind is actually bringing that confidence within you to make you believe that this could come to pass, or give you the energy to keep on going until you see results. So there has to be an evidence behind of that faith, because if you seek it, there must be something to prove it to be, in order to count it accountable or credited.
Okay.
Right.
So Johnny gave us a little clarity. He said, is your faith in a higher power or something else?
Well, that's anyone. It have to be in a higher power, or it could be in something else, or someone could just have total faith in Nicole. And everything about Nicole, that's where their faith is. So that means whatever she says, whatever she advised, whatever she even think about, and they get that information, they may just take that and as their belief, to make them believe, like, okay, I could do this because she said this, or he said that, because of that. That's believing in someone or something. You
Yeah.
know, some people believe in or have faith in animals.
So let me back you up just for a
Okay,
moment.
go ahead.
So when I think about faith, and Lanisha, I see your question. I'm gonna get to it. When I think about faith, I know that there's a scripture that talks about faith is the substance of
Yes.
things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. However,
However.
in thinking about this topic, I
Mhm.
think that a lot of our faith may be built on, because I came from the standpoint of the definition of faith being complete trust or confidence in someone or something, but
Yes.
I think it may be experiential, right?
Yes.
In terms of you having that trust, in terms of you having that confidence, you've had to maybe experience something in order to believe that you could have faith in this person or this thing.
Or you may just run out of everything that you've been trying, and you finally come to a point in your life to say, okay, this is where I'm going to put my faith in, because everything else that I've tried or experienced have not been working for me. So now I'm going to stick with this one thing or higher power, and
Mm.
I'm going to be consistent with it. You see, that's the part in principle 3, which I will talk about later, in consistency. Now, you can't just be like, okay, I'm going to stay on the rail, and then when things get all good and grandy for you, you just derail and then experience a whole different effect. And then you have to say, oh, okay, let me get back on track, which may be a great reminder to say, you know what? I better stay on track, because with that, I'm getting growth and I'm growing. But one of the most important things that I believe in faith is this: are you drawing wisdom from it? Whatever you have faith in, you should be able to draw wisdom from it.
Hmm.
And if you're not drawing wisdom from it, I may need to put a question mark behind of it
Okay.
in my book.
Okay. So let me get Lanisha. She said, but what do you do if you keep the faith for so long and nothing changes?
That's a good question. You just keep believing and you keep confessing that faith. And with that faith, you must have affirmation with it when you believe in something. Because if you believe in something and you don't have nothing to go with it in words, basically it's just, okay, I'm just going with the flow. But to test the faith, you have to say something or present something to see that result. Now, when you keep it and you don't give up, whatever, remember, whatsoever man thinketh, so is he, right? So that means if you stay focused on this one thing and believe that this is going to come to pass without giving up or doubting, it will come to pass. It must come to pass.
Hmm.
Why? Because your mindset. It's all about a mindset on that. So, you know, sometimes that's where doubt comes in,
Mm-hmm.
unbelief comes in, and, you know, you're uncertain about it. And that's okay. But the fact is, this is actually,
Roz, I can't with you, ma'am. Not tonight. Ozzie is very serious with his message, so do not. Oh, because
well,
he
that is a nice one right there. I love it. Love it. I love it.
faith
Yeah.
works
But
very well. I'm a believer.
yeah.
So,
So the thing is, now remember in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 6 says that without faith, right? If we're talking on a spiritual level, right? It said without faith. Now, faith is so important that God is even saying that without faith, it's impossible to please Him. But if you do come to Him, you must believe that He
uh-oh.
exists, right? And He is a rewarder of those who diligently seek Him. So there got to be a reward for your faith if you trust in Him. So there comes a trust factor in that whole parentheses.
All right.
Are you there?
Yeah, I think I was
Okay.
having a little technical difficulty, but I think we're good now. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I see you, Lynette. Thank you for being here. She said, Reverend Dr. Oz. Come on, sir. So I had a
Mhm.
question.
Yeah.
Can you have blind faith?
I don't think in my own thinking, unless you're being conformed to somebody else's style
Mm.
or message because you can't find your own path, yeah, it could be blind because now you really don't believe it. You just following it or you following the crowd.
Or you following it because maybe you trust that person or have confidence in that person that's
That
telling
is
you.
the truth because they may be charismatic, they may have a nice performance about it,
Mm-hmm.
but yet, is it really bringing wisdom into your life? Because if a wisdom is not being applied in your life and you're drawing wisdom from it, I think there's a question mark to it.
Mm.
So some people or some religion or some writers may have books, they may have practices, they may have different steps to help guide you and build your faith in that area. But the fact is, are you open mind to it? Because if your mind is not open to it and is closed to it, nothing will happen, and then it will just lead to confusion.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see Miss Kiosha has joined us. Thank you for being here.
Good
So,
evening.
yes, good evening. So, Ozzy, as it relates to faith, because I asked you specifically
Yes.
about blind faith, I'm going to take you to the garden.
Okay, so what would you consider blind faith?
Well, wait a minute. I'm about to ask you. I'm gonna take you to the garden. So
Take me there.
so the Adam told the woman, don't eat of this fruit
Mm-hmm.
because the Lord told us not to eat this fruit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Eve ate it anyway. Or the woman ate it anyway. She wasn't Eve yet. Woman,
Okay, go ahead.
uh-huh.
I'm listening.
She didn't have trust and confidence in him.
Well, the fact is this: you have to look at what came after that. She was tempted, right?
Was.
She was tempted, and look where the confusion came about, or the deception came about, right? She
Mm,
told him exactly the reason why they should not eat of that tree,
mm-hmm.
word for word, verbatim, right? As quoted from her husband,
Right.
word for word.
Mm,
And the question that he came back in deception to say, who told you that you should not? Right? But basically saying, well, that's what they say, but that's not true. So there comes a deception to it.
mm-hmm.
But the fact is, she did not go back and say, well, hold on a second here. Let me go back and check with him and bring him forth. So you could ask him about that. But you see, the whole deception was about having dominion because Adam was basically in the position, he had that position of authority. So
Right.
therefore, if the enemy take that power, even by one of the other,
Mm,
basically he's going to have control over it. So it was about control. So therefore he said, okay, I'm going to deceive her.
mm-hmm.
She's going to help him complete that mission. So by him actually coming to her, she helped him by listening to him and saying, oh, okay, well, let's do this. But the foolish part about it is she went and bring it to her husband and he partake of it. Now he had a choice. Now he could have said, you know what? That's you and him. I'm not falling for that. And
Mm-hmm.
guess what? She would have probably got kicked out of the garden and with the enemy, and he keep his position because he honored God who told him, you could have everything, but this one thing, do not touch it.
Okay.
And there was a test. It basically was a test. So are we in a position at time for our faith to be tested to see how true we are to the faith?
All the time.
And guess what? We are tested all the time.
We
So
are.
therefore, we're going to say, well, I believe and I'm going to keep it. But the fact is, I think it have to be higher than that. It have to be relationship. You're not going to have you're not going to be confident in something unless you have a strong relationship with it.
Okay.
And there got to be a strong connection to keep you firm to say, you know what? If I'm going to be rewarded for my faith by seeking it, therefore I should keep it. It's all about something, in return. Because blessings, we always talk about blessings, we always talk about abundance, but there's a spiritual law for everything.
There
But
is.
the thing is, do we understand the law of it? And if we understand the law of it, we're going to attract it and we're going to keep it in our life because it's law. There's no break into it because it's already always constant. But if we don't understand it, or we haven't come into the full revelation of it, now we actually going to fall apart because now we're not sure. If we're not sure, say you're taking a multiple choice test, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you know the answer A, B, C, or D, or E, or F, or G, and you know the answer is B because you studied, you researched, and you follow your notes, you read the book. As soon as you see the answer, you don't have to worry about the rest. You're going to circle B because you're so certain. But if you're not sure, you're like, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a tiger by its toe, and I'm going to go Charlie, right? Because that's what they always say. If you're not sure, just go Charlie, right? But at the same time, it's like the confusion could come about if we're not certain. But that's why it's so important for the believers to actually consistently study the word. Why? Because you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. But the fact is, it's more than just reading, it's more of relationship. You
Mm.
have to have a constant relationship and believing that, okay, I know, I know for certain that if I did and if I do this, I'm testing this to see the evidence of it. But I'm going to keep on trying it until I see the results.
Mm.
So that's the same thing. Even if you have failure in something, you just keep on trying and keep on trying. Why you'll keep on trying? Because you believe in it. You
Mm.
believe something going to come out, but then you may have to tweak it a little bit. You may have to do a little bit of adjustment. You may have to do some changes. And such is life in our habits every single day.
Indeed. All right.
Mhm.
So I want to acknowledge Keisha Washington is on with us. Thank you for being here. And then Janelle had a question about what about women who have faith for a certain man as their husband? If
Mhm.
he becomes somebody else's husband, was
Mhm.
it something wrong with her faith?
Yeah, something was definitely wrong with her faith because she was. I'm sorry,
Wait a
put
minute.
that. I
Wait
mean,
a minute.
I'm being straightforward about it because the thing is, if you have hope, that means somewhat you see this person to be attractive, right? And you see all the style, all the skills, everything that you ever imagine, everything that you ever imagined in a husband, you see it in that man, right?
Mm.
But the fact is this, you thinking about him as a husband, but are you sure that's God planned for him to have you as his wife, or you are the right fit for him? Now, if he approach you and tell you, oh, I had a vision that you are my wife and I was all this different bangalang, and you didn't get that same sense, right? Are you
Mhm.
going to accept it? No, you're not going to accept it because it's not a connection. There's a connection that have to come about. But now, if you desire that husband, nothing wrong in desiring that husband, but you have to be skillfully to know how to approach that man into saying, okay, I like him, I'm attracted to him. I'm going to have a conversation with him. But don't come out straight to the man and say, I had a dream or whatever the case about a husband. The man going to run. I'm going to tell you.
Nobody said anything about a dream. What you talking about? She ain't
Well,
saying a
I
dream.
am
She said
using,
a
I'm
man.
using,
She said a
huh?
woman who has faith for a certain man, but
Have
he
faith.
becomes somebody else's husband. Was it something wrong with her faith?
Well, nothing was wrong with your faith to a degree. You just have to change that faith in that belief for someone else that is fitting for you, because now that did not fall in place for you. You know, if I read it correctly, what
So,
about women who have faith for a certain man as their husband? If he
mhm,
becomes somebody else's husband, was it something wrong with her faith? Now, is that faith in that someone, or that faith it was in that higher being? Where were your faith in? You know,
mm,
so that means your faith was in something, or your belief in something of receiving something. But guess what? I look at it this way.
mhm.
We may have to change that word into hope. You are hoping that person may be your husband or whatever the case may be in that sense, because faith is something deep. It's internal to
It,
me. You know, it's intrinsic. It's
mm,
on a soul level. So when we talk about that on a soul level, now we have to look at it like, okay, if you felt that way, you can't just say stay there without no words. Words is what move. You know, there got to be some kind of connection. You know, there got to be some kind of vibe. You can't just like staying in your own world and just say, well, I have faith that this person, because guess what the word says? The word even said faith without works is dead. And you can find that in the book of James, right? Faith without works is dead. You know, so that means there's some action that got to go in. There's an input that got to go in. There's an action and a purpose that have to follow in order for that to come about. Yes.
whew.
I love it, bro.
I'm
I love
trying to get
laughter.
it together. I'm trying to get it
Let me
together.
put my phone on do not disturb.
Oh my
I
God.
need nobody to buzz me up now. Like, what you saying there, bro? Man.
Woo!
Yeah. So now faith, you know what faith is to you. You know, that's the thing about being open mind, you know.
Okay, so let me pause. And 'cause we like a little over the halfway mark. For those of you who are just joining me, I am on with Ozzie Daniel. We are talking about faith on this Mindset Monday. We are defining faith as complete trust or confidence in someone or something. We kind of
Mhm.
talked about how faith shows up in your life, faith producing action, faith also the ability to draw wisdom out of your faith. And so we've also kind of talked around the source of faith. And so we've talked about that coming from a higher power. But we've had several questions as it relates to maybe faith that was not realized in terms of hopes and dreams and desires and that sort of thing. But
Yes.
they not being realized, and maybe questioning whether or not there was an issue with the faith.
Yeah, but the one thing about faith, it can provide comfort, guidance, and a sense of purpose. I think that when it comes to faith, purpose is tied into it. And when purpose is tied into it, there goes your passion, you know, and that will lead you on your journey. And if that is not there, you know, you could really overcome a whole, you know, if that is there, you could overcome a lot of hardship. You could overcome a lot of obstacles. You could overcome a lot of things that may derail you from your path and your journey on the way to whatever decision or your choices in life may be to be successful. It takes faith. Without faith, it's impossible for anything. And I'll just leave it right there because you have to have that starter. And if that starter is not starting, that engine is not running, you're not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So faith is that driving force. It's that engine. It's that mixture. It's that elixir. But that's what kind of mixed within your own being to give you the energy, to give you the motivation in order to keep pressing on to whatever goal you want to reach.
Okay.
If you trust in God, yes, you continue putting your trust in him to bring the wisdom and give you the wisdom and give you the knowledge and all the equipment that you may need and all the connection, even in society, to connect with others to reach and achieve that goal by believing on that consistently. They got to be results because it's just that's the way it is.
So, what's your thought about, as Lanisha mentioned, like you are believing and you have faith and you don't see this thing happen? Maybe she said, what do you do? And I'll just pull it up real quick. What do you do if you keep the faith for so long and nothing changes? So, what's your thought about at least it appearing to us as nothing changing? And maybe it doesn't change in our lifetime, but maybe it changes for a future generation. What's your thought on that?
Now, the most important thing that I could really say on that is we all going to go through that path where our faith going to feel like, man, I have tried this, I have put my energy into this, but yet nothing is working. Just for example, a healing. You've been praying for healing in your body, right? And you've been praying and praying and praying and praying, and nothing seemed to be coming about, you know? But yet all of a sudden one day you may get up and all of a sudden that pain is not there anymore, or that feeling that you may have for a long time actually just gone away. So now we have to understand with faith come patience. Gotta have patience. But
Okay.
I believe totally that once you consistently, sincerely atoning yourself to that source of the higher power, there must be a connection that is going to give you that comfort and give you that peace. I always think a peace is always going to follow whatever the request may be in order to keep your mind stayed on that path.
Okay.
Otherwise, if your emotions get mixed up, it all of a sudden the impulses is going to take place and then the mistakes going to come about.
So I know you are quite the researcher. Have you done any study or research on the impact of faith on our mindset?
One thing that I found that it keeps you depending on how you look at things, right? Because if you look at things in a negative way, of course you're going to get the results out of it. But if you keep positive on it, it will actually work in your favor. It will work in your favor in such a way that you will see better results, increase in happiness. That's one thing that you're going to find out with really looking at it on a mindset level. So it's either you're going to be bringing some affirmation in your life positively, or negatively, you may just have a lot of negative things to say. So that will actually make that person more judgmental. So that will actually shift your mindset in such a way that now all the negative things that align with how you've been speaking and what you've been confessing, it actually going to come back with that same result. So it's really come down to that mindset level also.
Okay. So Johnny said your faith can lead to disappointment if it's in someone else, which is,
That, that
it can
that's a
happen.
that's a good point.
It can. All right. And then Marjorie said, I also believe that you have to have faith and let go. People state they have faith and continue to try to control the path to their destiny. Two people cannot hold on to the wheel and drive successfully. You have to give God room to work.
Yes, that is a very true statement. But one thing that I must say on along that path is another thing with faith. After you put your faith in God or that higher supreme that really you're trusting in, now the part of it too, you have to trust yourself.
Hmm.
Because if you can't trust yourself, how God will allow you to be able to take on what He says to really bring out what need to come to pass in your life purposely. You
Hmm.
know, so that's number one key and rule in faith. You have to be able to trust yourself. Why? Because you know where you came from. So if you know where you came from and the source of where you came from, now you'll be able to say, well, I have confidence because now I know the source from where I came from. And by that source, all of these things and attributes apply and comes together to make me a whole person. So now believing in that consistently and confessing it consistently, it will increase your faith and it will increase your mindset to be positive in all levels. But it comes with habits.
Okay. Michael Cork is on. Thank you for being here, Cork. I appreciate you. He said one of the issues is that we tend to evaluate faith by finite measures of time, but faith fulfilled is granted by an infinite God, which actually kind of speaks to the heart of what my question was around faith. You having faith, but it not necessarily being realized, or at least your maybe you don't witness whatever that thing is you have faith in or for, but it could be beyond your lifetime. Lanisha said, I can agree with that. Your level of faith depends on your level of mindset. Yeah.
And we have to know that it's no limit
Mm-hmm.
on faith when it comes to the supreme because he's infinite. There's no limit to it. So therefore we could expand in even in our own mind depending on our faith and how we could increase basically in a sense to your brain going to actually start working in a different way and start making and creating more cells because of that faith that you have in your mind because now it have to accumulate everything that it need in the resources within your mind to meet whatever the requirement may be.
Okay. So I want to poll the viewers. I want to find out from you all, what do you believe is are or is, and it could be more than one thing, is the biggest enemy to your faith? What do you
Mm.
believe are some of the enemies, or one or two or three enemies to your faith? Let me know in the comments. What do you believe are the enemies to your faith? What can be a faith barrier or distraction or something that may hinder you from having faith? Let me know in the comments. While you all are doing that, Kiosha had a question. She said, can someone have faith and worry or stress at the same time?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But the thing is about it is the more you really start focusing on the positivity of it and believing in it, now it cannot remain for a long time. Something both can't stay in the same house. One got to leave. So therefore, what's your focus on is what's going to increase. So now if you're focusing on the worry and the anxiety and you just totally shift off of your faith, guess what? It will increase. But as soon as that is shifted, it's actually going to start shrinking. And that's exactly how I believe it works.
So that to me speaks to what Marjorie was saying about people wanting to try to control the path to their destiny, right? And so yes, we have a goal or a destination or, a hope or a dream or what have you, but we may have a thought about how this pathway is going to be, what this journey is going to be like. And it may not follow, it's probably not going to follow that that pathway, to be quite honest.
Well,
Um, because there are a lot of dips and turns, and it's not like it's necessarily a straight line, right?
right.
Because we
So
have free will, right?
we have a free will. So now one of the big thing is it based on the ego, or is it based on the intrinsic part of the spirit mind living from the soul?
Mm-hmm.
So if it's based on the ego, which is basically selfishness and self-serving, and it's not about people and community and connecting, but just about I, and ruling over people, or having people below you, or thinking of them as inferior to you. Now that cannot be real faith. That cannot be real faith. That could be faith in yourself in your egotistic way, but really it's not going to produce good fruit. It's not going to produce multiplied fruits on and on, because now when the faith really increases in such a positive way, it multiplies in such a healthy way. It always come in peace, it come in comfort, it come in empathy, it comes in compassion. That's the attributes that actually follow faith. But
Okay.
if it's actually on the other side now, is really faith in yourself on an egotistic level,
Hmm.
which actually going to be pride, and the pride going to come to a fall.
Okay. So, two people have responded to my question about what are some of the barriers or what are some of the things that challenge your faith or hinder your faith. Marjorie said, other people, family members. I have learned to move in silence. I have been called naive, oblivious, and a dreamer. People will talk down and try to crush your dreams and shake the foundation of your faith and your belief.
And
Others, go ahead.
that is correct. And that is the challenge is of your faith right there. So
Right.
Marjorie is on point on that. Very good.
Okay. She also said others will try to have you question God and the works he is doing in your life if it is not on their timeline. Be mindful.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. That's perfectly well said.
All right. Denise said some friends that won't change, that don't want to change.
Right.
So that she's saying that is a hindrance. My sister Shayla said fear and worry.
Right.
Fear and worry. Michael Cork had a comment. He said that faith does not overrule the will of God. Faith does not overrule the will of God.
That's absolutely true.
Hmm.
You know.
All right.
So, hmm
So, my thoughts on the things that hinder our faith are fear, doubt, and unbelief.
yes. And that will, I mean, I call that like the kryptonite of faith. It will cripple. And
Hmm.
sometimes, if we allow ourselves to dwell on it for such a long period of time, now we ourselves will lose faith to a certain degree. And now it'll take a while before we actually get back on track, because now we allow ourselves to get so doubtful. And then we may increase in other bad habits that will actually take a long time to break, to get back on track, because now we open ourselves to something else to channel in within our own being.
Okay. Indeed. Kiosha said our own actions can be barriers of our faith.
And that's true. That's
Hmm.
true. It brings a lot of limitations. So our goal is you get to understand in prayer or in meditation the mind of God, in silence, in quietness, in prayer. And the more we do that, we open in ourselves to receive. So now when we do that, we receive in the wisdom, and then we get to understand the wisdom, because explanation and everything will not come scrambled. It will come to you in plain language. And the more we actually give ourselves into it, is the increase that is going to come. So I look at it as now you're building spiritual stamina. So now when worry and anxiety and all these things come or try to creep up in you, now you're going to cast it away. Why? Because you that's not your belief, that is not your positivity, and you know it's going to damage your mindset and your thinking because everything is originated by thought. So what is our thought on it? So whatever our thought is, that's our level. So the higher our thoughts, the higher the level of faith will increase. So therefore that's why it's so important to spend time in a habit of spending time. That's the only way it increases. It's not going to increase by just saying, okay, I'm going to just live my life, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. Okay, it's your free will. But if we're going to grow, it there's a requirement for that. There's a requirement. And with the requirement always come a reward with it, because now we will see the increase. It's always going to be increase and abundance that is going to follow, because that's to me, that's how God minds is. You know, that's the level. It's always going to increase more and more and more. Why? Because he wants to pour his abundance in our life, but are we open to receive it? Are we going to be in doubt because we following what our friends say and we taking all the criticism that they actually pouring and we believe in what they are saying? That's another faith. Now you're going to have faith in actually somebody who's speaking negatively about you all the time. Many people actually take on more negativity from what people may say than something positive that someone may say to them. And then they focus more on the negative, but yet the little positive, they actually take that and bury it underneath the bed. What about just taking that one positive as a seed and let that germinate within you and let it grow?
No, I agree that there's a lot of negative noise out there. And so, but I think part of that too is us perceiving things as negative as well. So, that's a mindset issue.
It is a mindset, and it all comes by habits. So if something is not working, change it.
Yeah,
You have the power to change it. If it's not working, change it.
you do.
Nobody say, "Oh, you have to stay on that course and you have to do that."
You
Change
can
it.
you can change your thoughts about it.
Change your thoughts about it and say, "Okay, I had to change your mind." Even in my walk in faith, from the time I was 14 years old till now, there have been many changes along the way. Why? Because now I'm starting to see and understand purpose in such a dynamic way that now I'm like, okay, now I'm seeking the supreme in such a defined way that now I'm seeing the results that is actually flowing in. Why? Because I'm opening my mind to it. And I said, okay, I desire it. See, that's where faith comes in. You have to desire. And then when we desire it, now the increase is going to come.
Okay.
So it's not a bunch of hula la 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 la. No, it's actually affirmation. It got to be concrete.
All
And
right.
with that being concrete, now we get to see and experience it, because it's a journey. It's a journey. But tonight is just a basic part of just something to talk about, so we could think about it. Reflect and think about it. And if it resonates, okay, make the change. If it don't resonate, stick your same way. If it's working for you.
Yes, sir. So
Yeah.
a couple of more comments regarding the hindrances or barriers to faith. Michael Cork said, leaning on our own understanding.
Oh yes.
And
That's Proverbs. Don't
uh-huh.
lean on it.
And Felicia said, doubt in the face of God's consistent answers to prayer.
Mm. And that will always be a big hindrance.
Yes. Ishmael, hey Ish, thank you for being here. He said one of the primary hindrances to our faith is we must trust in God and not act like we are God. Mhm.
Absolutely.
Indeed,
Absolutely.
indeed.
Trust in the Supreme.
All
Yes.
right. So, as we prepare to wrap up, I'm going to give you an opportunity to give us some closing remarks and tell the people how they can connect with you, Ozzy Oz.
Well, you want the closing remarks or you want how they can reach?
Closing remarks and then how they can connect.
All right. So I wrote my little notes for the closing remarks so I could remember it so it won't slip out my mind. And we have to remember that the goal is to develop spiritual stamina. So when a problem occurs, you don't have to react out of emotions, but out of wisdom. I'll say that again. The goal is to develop spiritual stamina. So when a problem occurs, you don't have to act out of emotion, but now you're going to act out of wisdom. So when opportunity presents itself, it's no time for us to prepare if we're ready to be ready to enter. So we have to always be preparing. So when the opportunity presents itself, all we have to do is enter the gates, and by faith. Why? Because you've been believing in it, you've been praying about it. So when you believe and you pray about it, believe that you receive it. That's the faith that we need to understand and actually increase upon it. Don't believe it and then say, oh, it's taking too long, because now it's being tested and everything works in God's timing. Everything works in the supreme timing. And if we allow it to work for us, now we'll be able to see the results and give glory and praise and gratitude to the Supreme for that. So, as Michael Cork was actually saying, don't lean on your own understanding. That's why the word also say, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your understanding. And in all of your ways, acknowledge him and he shall direct your path. So that means it takes all of you, body, soul, and mind, all of you, so you can see the results that come about and your path will be directed, because guess what, God can't fail. But whatever you believe in, believe. But if
Okay.
you have a shadow of a doubt, you may need to change your course.
All right. Thank you. So, how can they connect with you?
You could connect with me every Monday and the last Monday of the month, as long as time persists, on Conversation with Nicole. Oh, you can reach me on Facebook, on Facebook, Ozzie Daniel, or you could email me, theozcorner@gmail.com. And I'm on IG also, Ozwiz2819. So there
Indeed.
we have it. Thanks for showing up and spending some time. And I appreciate everyone on Conversation with Nicole. I hope everyone gets something out of it, learn something of it, and increase your faith. Because
Indeed.
without faith, it is impossible to please God, or it's impossible for you to even move forward.
Yes. So I see we had Magnolia on here. She's a clinician here in Tallahassee. Thank you for being here. All right. Lanisha said, act by wisdom and not by emotion. Love it.
Yes,
Right. And Ish said, it is also imperative that we understand that no is an answer.
that's absolutely true.
It is. It
So
is.
true. Yeah.
All right. So
Hmm.
I hope you all have found this beneficial. We are on live Mondays and Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. Monday is Mindset Monday. Wednesday is Wellness Wednesday. We invite you to subscribe to the Conversations with Nicole YouTube channel if you have not done so already. Let's keep this conversation going around faith. What do you believe in?
That's right.
What do you
Thank
have
you.
complete trust and confidence in? What person, what thing? And do you really want to have complete trust and confidence in them, or do you want to change that? Just
Yeah.
things to think about. Um, Our show on Wednesday, we will have Sonia B, who is a certified sexologist. She's coming back. She was on at the beginning of the month, but we got such an outcry for her return that and we had space, so she'll be back on, and actually we'll be talking about um, sex as an act of self-care and self-love on Wellness Wednesday. Next month we have got action-packed month. It's Autism Awareness Month, so we have an autism panel, as well as it's Earth Day on April 22nd. So we'll have some guests on to talk about some Earth Day festivities that'll be taking place here in Tallahassee. So just be on the lookout because we got a lot of great things coming up. And then Friday, I can't forget about Friday, my regular show. This is episode 3 of season 12, and Commissioner, Pastor, and Professor Bill Proctor will be my guest. And so that's on Friday at 7 a.m. on Conversations with Nicole YouTube and on Greater Works Network on RokuTV. So thank you all who have been chiming in just now saying good night and good conversation and great. Oh, Marjorie said she had a follow-up question. No, you don't, Marjorie. Thank you, Marjorie. Oh, and tomorrow I got singles mingle. So myself, Roz, and Nick Rains will be on, and we have Uncle Rom. He is that's his kind of nickname is Uncle Rom, but Rom Wills, who is an author, an international best-selling author at that. He will be on, and we'll be talking about, oh my gosh, y'all, hold on, I'm not ready. Do alpha females look for beta males? So we'll be right back here. Well, not conversation, but Nicole Everett and Singles Mingle on YouTube. I mean on Facebook and on Greater Works Network on Roku. So 8:30 tomorrow, Singles Mingle, where kings meet queens. Do alpha females look for beta males? So should be an interesting conversation.
Sound like a sleep cycle.
And I saw your little comment, Ozzie. We'll have to ask them about that. All right, Lanisha, thank you so much. Appreciate y'all being here. Y'all have a great night and a great rest of the week, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
All right. Have a good night.